Imagine a man who stood shoulder to shoulder with a saint, a national hero celebrated for his bravery and loyalty. Now, imagine that same man becoming one of history's most notorious serial killers. This is the chilling story of Gilles de Rais, a French nobleman whose life took a terrifying turn from celebrated warrior to a figure of pure evil. Born in 1404 into one of France's most powerful families, Gilles de Rais had it all. He was wealthy, intelligent, and a distinguished military commander. He fought valiantly in the 100 Years' War, earning the prestigious title of Marshal of France at a young age. His most famous accomplishment was fighting alongside the legendary Joan of Arc, helping to lift the siege of Orléans and secure a pivotal victory for France. In the eyes of the public, he was the epitome of a chivalrous knight, a hero in every sense of the word. But heroes can fall, and Gilles de Rais's fall was catastrophic. The turning point seems to have been the capture and execution of Joan of Arc in 1431. After her death, Gilles grew disillusioned and gradually withdrew from military and court life. He retreated to his vast estates, where his behavior became increasingly erratic and extravagant. He squandered his immense fortune on lavish theatrical productions and opulent displays of wealth, quickly plunging himself into crippling debt. This desperation for money and power led him down a dark and forbidden path. He became obsessed with alchemy and the occult, believing he could find the philosopher's stone to turn lead into gold. He surrounded himself with alchemists, sorcerers, and charlatans who promised him unlimited wealth and knowledge in exchange for his patronage. His search for riches soon devolved into something far more sinister. Convinced that he could summon demons to do his bidding, Gilles de Rais began to conduct dark rituals within the secluded walls of his castles, most notably at his favorite residence, the Château de Tiffauges. According to later testimonies, these rituals required the ultimate sacrifice. He was told by his occult advisors that the blood and organs of innocent children held immense power. He allegedly believed that by offering them to demons, he would be granted wealth, knowledge, and power beyond his wildest dreams. It was at this point that children in the surrounding regions began to vanish without a trace. The disappearances were initially dismissed or ignored. Gilles de Rais was a powerful lord, and the victims were mostly peasant children whose families had no influence or recourse. Boys were lured to his castles with promises of food, jobs as pages, or gifts. Once inside, the gates would close behind them, and they would never be seen again. The stories that later emerged from his trial painted a picture of unimaginable horror. Inside his chambers, these children were subjected to unspeakable acts of torture and ritualistic murder. Survivors and accomplices testified to scenes of depravity that shocked even the hardened sensibilities of medieval Europe. The details are too gruesome to describe in full, but they involved sadistic abuse and dismemberment, with Gilles allegedly taking a perverse pleasure in the suffering of his victims. He was said to have kept their heads as trophies, arranging them in his room. The exact number of victims is unknown, but estimates range from dozens to possibly several hundred over a period of about 8 years. For years, rumors circulated about the dark happenings at the Château de Tiffauges. Locals whispered about screams heard from the castle at night and the foul smell that sometimes emanated from its towers. But who would dare accuse a Marshal of France, a companion of Joan of Arc? His noble status and formidable reputation acted as a shield, protecting him from scrutiny. But his arrogance would ultimately be his downfall. In 1440, Gilles made a fatal mistake. He got into a violent dispute with a clergyman over a property matter, which led to him kidnapping the priest. This was an attack on the church itself, an institution even more powerful than the French nobility. The Duke of Brittany and the Bishop of Nantes finally had the justification they needed to launch an official investigation. The church had been monitoring Gilles' heretical activities, and his political enemies saw an opportunity to seize his lands. Gilles de Rais was arrested and put on trial. The proceedings were twofold: a secular trial for murder and an ecclesiastical trial for heresy and demonology. Witnesses were brought forward, including his closest servants and accomplices, who gave harrowing accounts of the crimes committed within his castles. At first, Gilles arrogantly denied all charges, insulting the court and claiming his innocence. However, Under the threat of torture and excommunication, his defiance crumbled. He made a full and public confession, weeping as he admitted to the abduction, torture, and murder of countless children. He described his descent into darkness, blaming his actions on his pride and his pursuit of forbidden knowledge. The confession was shocking, and it sealed his fate. Historians today still debate its validity. Was it a genuine admission of guilt, or was it coerced through psychological pressure and the threat of torture? A common practice at the time. We may never know for sure. On October 26, 1440, Gilles de Rais was convicted and sentenced to death. As a sign of repentance, he was allowed to be hanged before his body was burned. A small mercy. 2 of his chief accomplices were burned alive on the same day. France watched in stunned silence as one of its greatest heroes was executed in utter disgrace. The nobleman who had once stood beside a saint was now condemned as a monster. The legacy of Gilles de Rais is a complex and disturbing one. He is often cited as the historical inspiration for the folk tale of Bluebeard, the wealthy aristocrat who murders his wives. His story serves as a chilling reminder that evil can lurk behind the most respectable facades. The contrast between his public image as a hero and his private life as a depraved killer is what makes his tale so uniquely terrifying. But was he truly the monster history remembers? Some modern historians have raised questions about the trial. Was he framed by his political rivals who wanted his land and wealth? Was the church trying to make an example of him to assert its authority? The evidence against him was primarily based on confessions, which, as we know, can be unreliable. Yet the sheer volume of testimony and the physical evidence of children's remains reportedly found at his castle are hard to dismiss. The story of Gilles de Rais forces us to confront an unsettling truth. The line between good and evil, hero and monster, can be terrifyingly thin. It's a dark chapter in history that continues to fascinate and horrify us, a cautionary tale about the depths of human depravity and the darkness that can hide in plain sight, even within the heart of a celebrated hero. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as unsettling and fascinating as I did, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the darkest corners of history. See you next time.